Hey there, Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe for Sunday, April 9th. Today, I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into a Pluto in Aquarius topic, looking at what does Pluto in Aquarius mean for us. It's a huge, huge topic. There are many things that can be said about it, and today I thought it would be fun to explore a little bit more about the social justice aspects of what Pluto in Aquarius can bring, what it can get us to look at, and what it means for the future and for activism, grassroots movements. We have seen in the news showing up this week the issue of racism coming to the forefront. The issue that happened in Tennessee with the Tennessee 3 and 2 of the state legislators being expelled from office, and the story that is unfolding around that, which of course you can read the news for more information about that. But what I'm interested in is how does it fit into a bigger picture of what it means for us collectively to have Pluto in Aquarius, and is not just a short-term thing, right? So right now, Pluto has gone into Aquarius. Pluto has a 248-year orbit. Or time that it takes to go all the way around the zodiac. It's far out in our solar system. So while the Earth has a 1-year orbit around the sun, Pluto takes much, much longer. So Pluto stays in a sign for many years, and it creates a background theme of what we're dealing with in the collective during different periods in history, different eras, different time periods that have a different feeling to them. And so the last time that Pluto went into Aquarius was actually the late 1700s. 1778 to 98 in there, and there's always some back and forth a little bit as a planet changes signs, because it will go retrograde and it will go back into the previous sign and then forward again. And so we have this kind of back and forth for a year or two while it is making its transition. Very often that happens, and so we kind of get the experience of dipping our toes and then going back, and what do we still have to complete about the previous sign, and what is the work that we're still doing. So anyway, about 1778 to 1798, so 248 years ago, when I don't know if that math adds up exactly, but there's always a little bit of wiggle room around the exact dates. But the time period that Pluto was in Aquarius corresponded with the American Revolution, the rebellion of the colonies against the King of England, and this notion of freedom really emerged in the collective, especially for the United States, right? This notion that people had a right to determine their future, that people didn't have to be under the thumb of a king or an autocrat. And then, of course, the French Revolution took place during that time period as well. And if you're a historian, there's just so much to explore, right? But anyway, just sticking with the United States and our history of what it means to be free, and the fact that there's some karma ripening here around the fact that our freedom and our independence and our identity and our prosperity was largely based on the institution of slavery. And again, I am not a scholar in that area, but I do enjoy reading about it. The 1619 Project is a really good place to learn about some of the history and slavery and racism and where it all comes from. It's a construct, in case you were wondering, in case that's not obvious. the racism is a construct. It's not a natural phenomenon. Anyway, you can read about that. There's lots of great stuff out there. So coming back to Pluto in Aquarius, and what's happening right now is that as Pluto takes its first journey, its first foray into Aquarius, and which is where we are right now. Pluto has just entered Aquarius, and it will retrograde eventually and go back into Capricorn in June. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but so we'll have more of Pluto in Capricorn for the remaining months of this year. And then Pluto goes into Aquarius in January again, where it will stay for until September of next year. And then it will retrograde back into Capricorn again for a couple of months, and then going direct into Aquarius again, where eventually it will stay in Aquarius for a good long time. It will be there until the 2040s. And again, it's going to do some shifts into Pisces and back. Anyway, we want that you get the idea. So the point is that now what we're seeing emerging in the collective, in the news cycles, in the history of our country, of our collective experience, our the bigger picture of our communities, is we are seeing the emergence of these issues, these themes around civil rights, social justice, equality, and freedom. What does it really mean, right? We have to grapple with, as a nation, as a society, as a collective, a culture. We have to grapple with this reality that the prosperity this nation has founded itself on is complicated, is based on the institution of slavery. And the notion of freedom is complicated because we say in our Constitution that all men are created equal, right? And first of all, we have a problem right there with gender. But of course, we also have an issue with who is considered to be human. And it's a hard thing to talk about, right? But it is truly important to talk about. And what we consider, Black people were not considered to be full human beings, right? They did not have the vote. Eventually, I don't know, there was a thing about 2/3 of a vote. Anyway, again, I won't give you all the details, but the point is that there's a struggle for what does freedom really look like? Are we as a collective, as a nation, going to embrace and embody this idea that all human beings are equal, all human beings deserve freedom and the pursuit of happiness and equal opportunity and all of these ideas? So inclusive of your gender, inclusive of your gender identity, inclusive of whatever category we might arbitrarily put people into based on race or ethnicity or religion or background, or all those different categories that we put human beings in. The truth is, the reality is that we are all connected, right? We all share the same DNA. We are all share the same humanity. And that is what Neptune and Pisces also reminds us, that we are all one, we are all interconnected. There is what affects my neighbor affects me, what affects me affects my neighbor. It's not an isolated thing. And of course, issues of civil rights and social justice are not only about the group that is being oppressed or targeted or silenced. It's about all of us. And so, do we want to live in a society that is free, in a society where our neighbors are valued as equally human. And we are valued as equally human as our neighbors, as our cohorts, and our brothers and sisters in different categories, right? So so Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, you think I'm getting all political here, right? But what I'm doing is I'm thinking about how all this can be seen through the lens of astrology, and Pluto in Aquarius. So first of all, the planet Pluto is about transformation. It is about a deeper truth, and it is about power. So it is about empowerment. It is about how we step into our power. It is about who has the power, where is the power, who gets, struggling for who gets to be in power, and what does power mean, who makes the decisions. All of those questions fall under the realm of Pluto and what it represents. And then the sign of Aquarius is about many things, but one of the things it is about is the way that we work together as human beings. It is how we can work in groups. So groups of people, grassroots movements. It's also about the future and how we think about the future and what we want to create for the future. So Aquarius is associated with the planet Uranus, and both the sign and the planet bring themes of shakeup, of change, of rebellion, of instability, of revolution, of thinking about the future and freedom, equality. So what needs to be shaken up or changed to bring a better future, and specifically more freedom for the individual? So when we're in a society, we make agreements, that will behave in certain ways in order so that we can all get along. And that is actually, there's some important things about that. It would be chaos if we were all just doing what we wanted and there were no rules, there were no systems, there were no agreements that we had with each other, right? So that's an important part of it as well. But within this, and what Pluto and Aquarius is bringing for us, is the ability to think about what does it mean for the individual to be free, to be autonomous, to have their own voice, to speak up for what's important to them. And so this naturally transitions into themes of activism, grassroots movements, things that are for the people, right? About the people and not about the powers that be, not about the government, not about the systems, except in the sense that the people can be the government, right? And I think that is truly the vision of this nation. It is the vision that the government is run by the people, for the people. We elect our officials, and we have choices, right? We can advocate for the things we want, and that's what we do when we protest, when we stand up for things that are important to us, when we speak up, when we come together in groups to support each other, to speak up and make our voices heard. So we can, and there are good reasons to advocate for having a government that is representative, representative of who we really are, and our diversity, and our different perspectives and backgrounds and opinions and feelings and needs. And when we have a government that really represents its constituents in its diversity, in our diversity, then we have a government that is more able to adapt to our times. And okay, so I got off on that, but what I really want to say is that we have the energy of Pluto, which is about transformation, truth, and power. But it is ultimately, the energy of Pluto is like a bulldozer that comes in and tears up the foundation. You know, it's like it's ready to get rid of something. It's going to take out the things that you knew, the things you could count on. And it's like, okay, you know, it's time to build something new. It's time for you to think about what you really want going forward. And in case you were hesitating about doing that because you didn't want to have to let go of some of the comforts and securities of the past, Pluto is going to do that for you. It's going to take away the security temporarily, because what it's doing is it's asking, you know, hey, is that really what you wanted? Did you really want to keep that? Or do you want to create something different? And what would it look like if you had to create something from the ground up? What would you create? What would that look like? So, for example, we had Pluto in Capricorn from 2008 until earlier this year, right? And we will have Pluto going back into Capricorn and to the final degrees of Capricorn this year and next year. And that has been about taking away some of the old institutions, systems that really couldn't adapt, couldn't flex with the times. Now, some of our institutions and structures are still standing, and that's not a bad thing, but there is definitely an opportunity here to reimagine, re-envision, you know, what do we want our government to be? What do we want our systems of ethics and ways of operating within that government to look like? What do we want our healthcare systems to look like? Our educational systems, our financial systems, kind of bringing up a lot of questions about, like, you know, okay, if you really had to do this differently, how would you do it? And so that's Pluto in Capricorn, because Capricorn is about systems and institutions and structures. And then we've got Pluto going into Aquarius, where it will do that work like a bulldozer of taking away the way we used to do things and asking us, how do you really want to do this? What really, you get to think about what you want to create and how you want to operate going forward. What is your vision? What is important to you? And so Pluto going through Aquarius is going to transform from the ground up things like the way that we do activism, the way that we come together in groups, the way that we think about freedom and equality, the way we think about human beings and one another, and how we define human beings and human beings who have, you know, come from these different categories. There's like a recognition that we are all in this together. And it's that feeling of being human, a human amongst other humans. And so what does it look like to be ourselves, to be true to ourselves, to our individuality, to be authentic, to stand in how we see ourselves, you know, our gender identities, our ways of identifying in all ways, and how do we need to show up and be you know, self-confident in that way that we believe in ourselves. So Pluto going through Aquarius is going to bring a deeper transformation to the ways that we conceptualize change. So and the other thing is, so not only was Pluto in Aquarius in the late 1700s, we had those themes of rebellion and thinking about freedom and equality, which of course we see now, you know, created some problematic themes that we have to deal with, you know, now based on arbitrary categories of racism and gender issues, equality of women and women's rights, which are also big on the table right now. And then so we haven't had Pluto in Aquarius since those late 1700s, but there was a time period when Pluto and Uranus came together, which is a similar energy, because Uranus, being the planet of shakeup and change, coming together with Pluto brings some similar themes. So when did that happen? In the 1960s. civil rights movement, women's rights movement, themes of equality, anti-war, right? Thinking about the people and what's good for the people, and not what is good for the powers that be. So this theme comes up again, and it is here. And what I'm saying is that not only with Pluto in Aquarius, which again is there briefly now, it will be there most of the year next year, but then following that, we will have Pluto in Aquarius for a good many years. What we're doing in this time with Pluto in Aquarius is not just revisiting the civil rights movement or the women's rights movement, or having to, oh, do we have to do this again? Didn't we already, win these rights, and win these battles for recognition, and so on and so forth? What's happening with Pluto in Aquarius is that we are going to transform the way we conceptualize the ways that we bring about change. So that's really the essence here. We are going to transform the ways that we conceptualize how we bring about change. So this is happening at a very deep level. It is not going to happen overnight. It is going to happen over the course of the next 20 years. But what we're going to see is people starting to shift how they think about things, starting to shift how we organize, how we rebel, how we conceive of ways of bringing about change. Now, right along with that goes this huge shift in technology that has happened in the last 20 plus years, around new technologies that we have, the internet, social media, cell phones, things that didn't exist when I was a kid. So this is also going to transform, right? It's a theme. Technology, especially innovations and communications and networks of thinking on a global level, and connection and communication that are much more instantaneous over vast distances. That is a theme that Pluto is going through and transforming. So, and again, the bulldozer coming through and going, okay, you thought about it this way, but really you need to rethink everything you thought about what you thought about this technology. So there is, right, there's AI. There are changes that we don't know how to handle yet, and we don't have systems and structures in place to handle ethics in social media, right? To handle regulation, how the government should regulate, or how to hold social media companies accountable for mayhem that may be caused, right, through things that we have never anticipated because they've never existed before. So these changes, these deeper changes in technology, but again, it is how we conceptualize the very structures of how things work. And so that is up for change with Pluto in Aquarius. Needing to almost step into new paradigms of how we think about things, because the old paradigms, the old constructs, this just doesn't work anymore. It just, where we're at right now, the problems that we're dealing with this accelerated global communication, and things we could go on and on and on about, that is what is going to have to be reconceptualized. And so expanding into new paradigms that will give us a bigger context for thinking about these things, and shifting our thinking, shifting our awareness, shifting our consciousness in ways that, that are actually happening in many ways in science, the way science is evolving through the discovery of quantum physics and expansion into new paradigms of thinking in science, which is a whole nother subject. But I wonder if some of that might come more into the ordinary consciousness as we go through this Pluto in Aquarius time. Like, what does it mean that we have a quantum knowledge, how things work at the quantum level in physics that don't fit the old paradigm of how the apple falls from the tree and we can measure the gravity and everything is predictable. Quantum physics kind of turns all that on its head. So what does that mean? What does that mean for who we are? What do we do with that? Who do we become based on that? Those are the kinds of questions we are going to grapple with Pluto in Aquarius. We have these themes of civil rights, of social justice. And again, I think there's going to be a profound shift in how we do that. Civil disobedience may resurface. Maybe people taking to the streets and marching, and that could all very well be part of this. But along with it is, and we can already see, is this factor of social media being a part of that, right? And some kinds of communication that Martin Luther King Jr. did not have. And didn't exist in the 1960s, and all of the wonderful leaders of the civil rights movement. So I think that we are going to see some of these themes coming up. I think that collectively and societally, we are going to be grappling with that bigger picture of where some of the deeper truths about institutionalized racism and where that comes from and how it harms us as a society, how it is harmful to all people, because well, first of all, what is harmful to our neighbors is harmful to us. What is harmful to us is harmful to our neighbors, but also recognizing our own individual responsibility within that. Again, an Aquarian theme, the locus of authority, the center of authority coming from the individual rather than from a autocrat or a figurehead or a government or some sort of centralized power. So thinking about our individual responsibilities, but also what does freedom mean? If we want freedom, what does that mean for everybody else? Can we be free if some people are not free? Can we enjoy other people's freedom if we're not free? Right? So we're going to be grappling with those kinds of questions as a society, and hopefully seeing more pathways forward, more change in the ways that we become change makers and the ways that we bring about change. So transformation in the ways that we conceptualize change. And just sit with that. Just sit with that for a minute, because it's hard to wrap your mind around it. It is transformation in the ways that we conceptualize change. So this is what is coming. I had a niece born last week, and so now I know here's one human being, other human beings being born right now that are born with Pluto in Aquarius. And what does that even look like, right? What will that mean for this generation that is being born and growing up? And of course, we're seeing now the Gen Z and what activism looks like for them. It's very different than what activism looked like in the 1960s. So much to think about there. And again, Pluto in Aquarius, is going to be going in and out. We're going to have Pluto in Capricorn for the second half of this year, January of 2024. Pluto goes into Aquarius, stays through September, and then goes back into Capricorn next year for a couple of months, and then it goes into Aquarius, where it will stay until the 2040s. So this is a very slow moving background theme. There's nothing you have to rush out and do about it. But I think it's fascinating to really look at and think about what this means for us, for our collective, and especially as we see news headlines like we have seen showing up this week, and themes of how we're going to have to grapple with ethics, with personal responsibility, with a need to be a change maker, to be part of the movement that is making old wrongs right. And what does that look like? What does it mean for us as individuals? What are our responsibilities? And how can we advocate for change? And what do we want that change to look like? What is our vision for humanity for the future? Also, all of these things are underpinning the problems of climate change, right? There's another huge topic. And racism and climate change are intertwined in the systemic issues that need to be looked at to solve those two problems, and so much to think about. So Pluto in Aquarius can also bring innovations, new possibilities, new ways of thinking, epiphanies, insights, inspirations, and ahas, thinking outside the box. So again, transformation in our ways of thinking about change. So there you go. Thank you so much for being here and for sticking it out till the end, because this is really a fascinating and deep topic. And thanks for letting me share my thoughts about it. I would love to hear what you think and what is important to you, your vision for the future. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for daily videos that, today we went a little deeper into this bigger topic, but every day I'm here telling you where the moon is and what it means for the vibe of the day, and how to stay in unshakable self-care based on the insights from astrology. So I'm here with you every day. Check it out, Astrology Heals on YouTube. And thank you for your support. You can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.